doing my fitness, as it's one of the only things that keeps me sane in this crazy island that's called Britain. So, reparations. How many years are we going to go over this nonsense? There is seemingly a group of people who are just like zealous, like in their desire to see this island crumble and broken for good with no money ever. In terms of the British Empire, Rafe Hadelmanku is the man to, he's got all the information and facts. Incredibly bright person on this topic. But in general, the British Empire left places they found in much better standards, situations, etc. than they found them. I think you'll find that the standard of life and the lifespan of people in areas where the British Empire was is much higher than those they weren't in. And perhaps we should get money back for all the infrastructure the British Empire provided, the education, the legal systems, the language they gave, the roads, providing business and economies. You know, we brought a lot in terms of what the British Empire did, unlike others who literally just pillaged and left the places in devastation. Are we going to look to the Ottoman Empire and the Persian Empire, the Mongolian? I mean, there's so many. Should we look at the barbarians, the Romans? Should we get reparations from the Normans and Saxons and Vikings? Should we go back to Germany and make sure they pay reparations for the world wars that I think we wrote off? Shall we go to China, which would be quite relevant and current, and get reparations for the immense damage COVID caused? No, because we're grown-ups and we move on. Although I think China, there is a conversation there. In terms of slavery, I'm so bored of having this conversation. The word slavery comes from the word Slav, which means white, because the first documented slaves, I'm pretty sure, are white, and white slaves were deemed the cheaper option because they were deemed weaker. Great. We're not asking for reparations, are we? So I think the barbarians, I could be wrong, were the first to take white people as slaves. And I think it's fact in saying more people were taken from the UK as slaves and people, to Africa than, say, Africans to like the Americas. This is not a colour thing. This affected all races. It, again, is just how things were. And I think slavery started in the Middle East and Africa, and they were the worst perpetrators. And the UK partook for a very relatively short period before realising this was a barbaric act. And then they borrowed so much money, it took until just a few years ago to pay off such huge historic debt that we used to buy the freedoms of all the slaves. Then we used our navy, Royal Britannia, to fight and stop Africa squadrons from continuing the barbaric trade. And we lost hundreds of our navy men at sea doing that because Africa wanted to continue. And I think you'll find in some parts of Africa today that is still the case, and the Middle East. So if people want to talk about slavery, they need to go and look at the Africans and the Middle East. The UK has the least to apologise for. We have paid our dues, and it's time perhaps to either go to others or just stop this stupid conversation about something that happened centuries ago and affected the whole world. And as I said, the UK really has the least to apologise for. I really want a leader like Trump who just draws a line in the sand and says, nope, there will be no further discussions on reparations. Otherwise, we will be asking the ancestors of the Normans, Saxons, Vikings, Romans, blah, 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 to pay their dues. You know, this whole nonsense needs to stop. It's ridiculous, and it's part of this agenda to demoralise British people and British kind of culture, and I'm sick and tired of it.